When I was 16, I was given to Western Ju as a gift by my father. During my 7 years in Western Ju, I endured endless torment and humiliation. The Emperor of Western Ju once tore my clothes through a screen, forcing me to submit to him. He also made me wear sheer gauze that concealed nothing. Walking on shards of porcelain, each step blooming like a lotus, I broke my spine, shattered my pride, and forced myself to please others, all just to survive. When the Eastern Jin army stormed into the Western Ju palace, I sat quietly beside the emperor's corpse. My splendid gown was stained with blood, and in my hand, I clutched a golden hairpin. A moment ago, this golden hairpin pierced Emperor Shizhou's neck, warm blood splashing onto my face. I seemed unaware, pressing harder until the hairpin was fully embedded. I've been away from home for years. I wonder if my father will like this gift I've prepared for his return. I smiled at Emperor Shizhou and gestured for them to take him away. After saying that, I ignored the complicated gazes they cast at me and slowly rose to my feet, walking out. Just as I passed by Xiao Ji, I gave him a thoughtful glance. I am the legitimate eldest princess of the Eastern Jin dynasty, and also Xiao Ji's wife, yet I am not favored by my father, nor have I received Xiao Ji's love. On our wedding day, he hid in his study and drank himself into a stupor. More than a month after the marriage, the wedding bed had never been consummated at that time. The Western Ju dynasty was powerful, and my father, the emperor, wanted to curry favor with the emperor of Western Ju, so he thought of a marriage alliance. But the Eastern Jin dynasty had only 2 princesses. One was his beloved little princess, and the other was me, the eldest princess, who was dispensable. My father, in his absurdity, disregarded the opposition of his ministers and sent me off on the marriage alliance mission. Now, 7 years have passed. Father, have you ever thought of me? The journey back to the Eastern Jin is long, just as it was when I first came to the Western Ju. Back then, I was young and naive, thinking I would just live well in the Western Ju, completely unaware of what I would face there. From the moment I stepped into the palace of the Western Ju, I became a plaything. My innocence was killed, cast into endless darkness. Later, in order to survive, I cast aside all my dignity and flattered the emperor of the Western Ju. Through my efforts, I managed to sleep in a bed and eat proper meals. I no longer had to sleep in the corner of the stable or fight with stray dogs for food. The people of the Western Ju valued strength, and I was like an ant, easily crushed and killed with a single pinch. They enjoy watching me flee in panic, relish the sight of me being toyed with at their mercy, unable to break free. So what now? The ants they despised most have killed their king. The news that I had personally killed the emperor of Western Ju arrived before me. I saw from afar the patch of bright yellow on the city tower. I know exactly why he came to pick me up. My child, you've suffered all these years. Do you blame your father for being heartless? I had no choice back then. Qingqing was only 15, still so young. Father, you acted for the sake of the country and the people, and you cherished your younger sister. What fault is there in that? Back then, I was only 16 myself, perhaps out of guilt toward me, or perhaps because I had taken the life of the Western Ju emperor. My father waved his hand grandly. Name your reward, whatever you desire. I glanced at Xiao Ji, and he immediately looked as if facing a great enemy. When I was sent away for the marriage alliance, my father had already annulled our marriage. Your humble son desires 10,000 taels of gold, several acres of land, 20 prosperous shops, and the position of head of the cabinet. I watched my father's expression shift from "that's all" to shock, and I smiled faintly. Officials nearby immediately protested, their words filled with disdain for me. Even Xiao Ji widened his eyes in disbelief. Father, I am no longer fit to bear children, nor do I have the chance to find a worthy partner. These years, I've lived like a dog in the Western Ju, enduring their humiliation. I stared straight at my father, speaking each word clearly about my suffering. Before I could finish, my father turned his head away. Very well, I promise you. I then looked at the official who had spoken out most strongly against me. Minister Li, do you not believe I should have returned alive? He glanced at his father's displeased expression and quickly knelt down, exclaiming that he dared not. The others also lowered their heads, not daring to meet my gaze. You need not be so self-deprecating. You are a hero of our Eastern Jin, and all of this is what you deserve. My father sighed and spoke with a pained heart. I looked at the emotion that didn't reach his eyes and lowered my gaze. Your son thanks your majesty. 2, I got what I wanted as I wished, and the princess's residence was being built according to my requirements. During these days, the palace servants attending to me were trembling with fear, afraid of angering me, no other reason. Only because I have dealt with quite a few people during this time, those who spoke ill of me behind my back. I had their tongues pulled out and boiled, then made them eat it. The suffering I have endured over these years was not meant to be used as gossip by them, nor was it meant for them to be ungrateful. Now, I oversee the cabinet, and any expenditure in the palace exceeding 200 taels must be approved by me. The cabinet was established by my mother, with the purpose of conserving resources and cutting costs. Over the years, it has been in the hands of the Empress Dowager for quite some time. Under my supervision, my princess's residence has become even more magnificent and grand than before. Jiang Qingqing has come to see me quite often for this reason, urging me not to be too extravagant, but every time she comes, she brings something along, then stays at my residence, insisting on staying until she has eaten a meal before leaving. The funds for renovating the princess's residence did not come from the cabinet's budget, so the stepmother had no way to intervene. Even if they had, it wouldn't have mattered. As long as I retained my status as a meritorious official, they could do nothing to me. After I returned, my temperament was vastly different from before. I used to be frugal and low-key, but now I indulge in extravagance, flaunt my wealth, and my moods are unpredictable. Memorials impeaching me were submitted one after another, but I remained unchanged. After my father repeatedly stood up for me, no one dared to cross me anymore. Now, I am the princess most favored by my father, at least on the surface, because he wants to show the world I enjoy the glory and favor I have never experienced before. With a clear conscience, daily extending olive branches to the handsome guards in the mansion, now, I no longer carry the self-doubt and timidity of the past. Instead, I exude an air of pride and allure. Even though I was no longer pure, I could still make those men blush, but I soon found it dull and eventually turned to leave. Only one dull-witted guard remained unmoved. He exuded an aura of purity, his eyes empty of everything, utterly clean. As the weather gradually turned cooler, a quick-witted guard suggested I go outside the city to see the red maple leaves. I thought about it and agreed. It had been many years since I had seen those fiery red maple leaves. Sister, I turned to look and saw Jiang Qingqing, her face full of delight. She stepped forward, trying to take my hand, but I took half a step back. Her face fell with disappointment. I looked at her with a complicated expression. When we were little, she would share everything she got with me, and she would follow me around, calling me Imperial Sister affectionately. But now, I truly cannot be as close to her as I once was. Once, my happiness came from her, yet my suffering, it seems, was because of her too. Following behind her was Xiao Ji. I seem to have suddenly understood another reason why I don't want to get close to her. My former husband, my former light, follows closely behind her, protecting her every step of the way. Imperial sister, have you also come to see the red maples? Qin Qingqing tentatively called out to me again. Her eyes were too bright, so bright that I couldn't bear to look directly at them. I could only mumble a response, trying to conceal my current fluster, to hide that shameful thought of mine. Eldest sister, let's do it together then. I didn't answer, just turned around, and she happily followed beside me. I glanced at Xiao Ji, and Qin Qingqing immediately said, "You don't need to follow. I want to be with my royal sister. Royal sister, please don't like Xiao Ji anymore." After walking a distance, Qin Qingqing suddenly said to me, and I looked at her in confusion, "Xiao Ji is not worth it. On the night before he married you, he came to me and said he liked me. Before you were sent by the emperor to be a bride in a peace marriage, he stayed in the imperial study for a long time. Over the years, he's told others that you're the one who's righteous, but he keeps coming to me, and I can't get rid of him no matter what." I gave Qin Qingqing a deep look. What she said, I had more or less guessed, but did she really believe naively that I still harbored feelings for Xiao Ji? "Don't you like him? He's been with you for so many years, and you're already past the age to get married." "I don't like him." I looked up at the vast expanse of red before me, my thoughts drifting back to the day of my wedding to Xiao Ji. Back then, I was convinced with all my heart that I had grasped my happiness. Little did I know, it was only the beginning of my nightmare. 3. Sister, sister. Qin Qingqing's voice pulled me out of my memories. Only then did I realize that the surroundings had grown a bit too quiet. We had unknowingly walked deep into the area. Sensing something was wrong, I grabbed Qin Qingqing's hand and hurried back out. A faint rustling sound came from all around. The wolves, which should have appeared at night, were now staring at us with menacing eyes. There weren't many guards following me, and I wasn't sure if we could escape unscathed. Your Highness, what should we do? Why are there wolves? Indeed, why were there wolves? The red maple forest was usually bustling with people. Even though we were deep inside, there shouldn't have been wolves. Besides, it's still daytime now. Let's go first. We'll talk about it when we get back. The wolves closed in step by step, staring intently at me and Qin Qingqing. The guard stepped forward, trying to drive them away. But it was no use. Humans and wolves remained locked in a standoff. Where is their alpha wolf? Every wolf pack has an alpha. Find the alpha and take it down first. My gaze wandered among the pack, trying to locate the alpha, but it was exceptionally well hidden. Finally, my eyes locked onto 3 wolves standing in a triangular formation. I thought the one at the back must be the alpha, right side. The one in the middle of the 3 wolves, cut it down first, I said to the guards. Strangely, most of the wolves still charged toward me and Qin Qingqing, forcing us to dodge frantically. Even with the guards protecting us, we still couldn't avoid being scratched. What's going on? I began checking my body for anything extra, then looked at Qin Qingqing. She understood my meaning and finally tore off the sachet from her waist. This sachet is freshly changed this morning. I took the sachet and threw it forcefully into the distance. The wolves' attention was quickly drawn to it, and their attack on us ceased instantly. At that moment, the alpha wolf let out a mournful howl and collapsed. Got it. With the fall of the alpha wolf, the remaining wolves lost their target all at once, swarming toward the sachet. Only 1 or 2 remained, still staring intently at Qin Qingqing. It must be the lingering scent on her body. By now, we had lost most of our strength, having exhausted it during the earlier evasions. Additionally, each of us was more or less injured, so it seemed we could only risk our lives. I saw a pale blue object fly past. It was Qin Qingqing's outer garment. I looked at her in shock. Sister, life is what matters, she just said to me with determination. Yes, life is the most important thing. Wasn't that exactly what I thought when I was in the Western Ju? After realizing they had been tricked, the wolves grew exceptionally furious, their howls echoing one after another. This time, the wolf pack's target became all of us, but without the alpha wolf issuing commands, their attacks appeared somewhat chaotic and disorganized. I pulled out the hairpin from my hairpin and held it in my hand, thinking I wouldn't be so passive. The hairpin in my hand was taken away, replaced by a cold sensation. I looked down and saw that Qin Qingqing had placed a small, delicate dagger into my hand. Imperial sister, this dagger was given to me by Imperial brother last year. It's incredibly sharp. I've long wanted to give it to you. Her eyes were filled with shock as she looked at me. I used the dagger to block 2 waves of wolf attacks, but after all, a short blade is more dangerous. Still, I suffered quite a few injuries. Qin Qingqing beside me wasn't faring much better either. The hairpin was already stained with blood, dripping onto the ground, and also onto my heart. Just when I thought I would perish here today, help arrived. Xiao Ji hurriedly looked at Qin Qingqing, who had fainted and leaned against the side, took off his outer robe and draped it over her, his face filled with worry. For, Your Highness, the Princess Royal, how did you encounter a pack of wolves? How did Princess Pingle's dagger end up in your hands? Xiao Ji demanded urgently. I leaned against the guard, preventing myself from collapsing to the ground, and stared at him coldly, my eyes devoid of any emotion. Are you questioning me, Xiao Ji? Do not attempt to test my limits. You are merely a subject. Do not mistake the respect I have shown you as a shield for your life. If you continue to be so ungrateful, do not blame me for being unkind. Xiao Ji's eyes flashed with disbelief, as if he could not believe I would speak to him in such a manner. Indeed, in the past, I had always spoken softly in his presence, often following behind him and never contradicting his words, to the point where he had forgotten that I am the superior, and he is the inferior. It also made him forget how I grew up in the palace, and how I survived for so many years in the Western Ju. The Emperor of the Western Ju had peculiar preferences. In the Western Ju, the strong ruled the weak, and his emperor had risen to power through constant battles. Therefore, he particularly disliked the weak. When I first arrived, I was timid and humble, and he had no interest in me beyond torment. I once wore a sheer garment that concealed nothing, dancing barefoot on shards of porcelain, enduring the pain as my feet bled profusely, each step leaving a trail of blood like blooming lotuses. I didn't even dare to show a hint of pain on my face, because if I did, even more agonizing torment would await me later. I became as unique as the emperor of the Western Jew. I began to take pleasure in torturing people with him, even coming up with more ideas for tormenting others. For example, starve an disobedient concubine for several days, then lock her in a room with a group of rats. Either she eats the rats to survive, or becomes food for the rats. For example, having someone stripped naked, draped in sheepskin, and hung with ropes, then led around repeatedly under the gaze of onlookers. He appreciates my understanding and enjoys finally having someone to accompany him, and so, I used his fondness for me to climb step by step to survive. I forced myself to become like the emperor of the Western Jew. Your Highness, the princess, you've changed. I made no comment. He hurriedly left with Qin Qingqing in his arms. I lowered my gaze, wondering whose hand was behind today's events. Was it for Qin Qingqing, or was there another motive? When I returned to the princess's mansion, I had just washed up and hadn't yet applied medicine when I received an urgent summons from my father, the emperor, to come and reprimand me. I don't believe he truly cares about me. I deliberately changed into another outfit, subtly revealing my wound as if it were barely there. When father saw me, half of the anger on his face dissipated. What happened? Why did you take Qingqing to such a dangerous place? Beside him, the step-empress's eyes were filled with smug satisfaction. The step-empress was my mother's close friend. Taking advantage of this connection, she and father somehow fell for each other at some point, entered the palace, and became my mother. She was clever all her life, yet never imagined she would be betrayed by a close friend. After her mother passed away, she became the empress for me, the legitimate eldest princess. She is the last person I want to see. It was my fault, Your Majesty. I happened to meet Qingqing outside the maple grove and decided to walk together. Before we knew it, we had wandered deep into the woods. We were also puzzled. How could there be wolves in a busy maple grove, especially in broad daylight? They just appeared. The emperor frowned, perhaps unaware of this matter. In the end, it was discovered that the sachet she was wearing was the culprit. I said slowly. Qingqing said that the sachet was a new one she had changed this morning. Father, you say, is this a coincidence, or? I noticed the stepmother's hand unnaturally lifting the teacup. Investigate, Empress, you go and investigate. Upon hearing this, father was furious, and the stepmother's motion of drinking tea paused abruptly. Your Majesty, I will certainly conduct a thorough investigation. It's just heartbreaking for my Qingqing. That child has never suffered such hardship before. 1111. Are you all right? From what I can see, you seem to be fine. The emperor looked at me with suspicion, and the stepmother's few words aroused his doubts. Father does not know. Qingqing gave me the dagger she carried with her. When I first arrived in the Western Jew, I was thrown into the dog kennel and had to compete with the dogs for food every day. In order to survive, I killed all those vicious dogs. Perhaps because of this, I have some experience, but I am merely a woman, and I have suffered greatly. I lifted my sleeve, revealing the wounds hidden beneath, some fresh from today's pain, others old and unhealed, crisscrossing in a horrifying pattern. Father closed his eyes and sighed. You've endured so much these years. Then he summoned the imperial physician to treat me. I glanced at the stepmother queen, my eyes brimming with defiance. You see, I am a hero of Eastern Jin. My scars are my medals, and the suffering I have endured is my greatest weapon. 5. Father, I wish to go see Qingqing. Not allowed. The stepmother's voice suddenly rose, sounding extremely hurried. After speaking, she realized her lack of composure and glanced at her father, who had not yet spoken. Her father's face showed displeasure, so the stepmother could only say awkwardly, Qingqing has been frightened and should rest. 1111 is also seriously injured and should recover properly. It's fine, I'm used to it. This little injury is nothing. I've suffered worse before. I said as if by chance. As you wish, you may go if you want. Qingqing has always loved clinging to you since she was little. I bowed in satisfaction, ignoring the step-empress's gaze, and turned to leave. Imperial sister, Qin Qingqing hesitated, glancing at the maid standing nearby. Leave us, I'd like to speak with Princess Pingle alone. The maid hesitated for a moment, then finally stepped out. Speak. The sachet was given to me by my mother. Her voice grew softer and softer, but I could still hear clearly. I fell into deep thought. Qin Qingqing was her daughter, and she usually doted on her greatly. There was no reason for her to take her own daughter's life. I recalled the scene when I met Qin Qingqing that day. Xiaoji, and a number of guards twice as many as mine. I finally realized what was wrong. A simple outing didn't require so many people, probably hoping Qin Qingqing would encounter the wolves, yet fearing she might get hurt. But why? Thinking about the stepmother's actions today, it suddenly occurred to me that she might be trying to frame me, but she probably never imagined that Qin Qingqing would happen to meet me, then leave Xiaoji behind and stay with me, nor did she expect that she would tell me about the sachet. No, she might know, so she just tried to stop me. Then you should be able to guess what happened. Imperial sister, I'm sorry. I gave Qin Qingqing a complicated look. You know, between your mother and me, there can be no reconciliation, just like back then, between the Empress and her. I know, but, elder sister, could you spare her life? I was taken aback. Does Qin Qingqing really believe that I can defeat her mother? Elder sister, when you came to see me today, mother tried to stop you, didn't she? Qin Qingqing stared at me intently. So, because I had the upper hand today, she believed I could win. Does that mean if I hadn't come today, she wouldn't have told me about the sachet incident? I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. Qin Qingqing, oh Qin Qingqing, you really are clever after all. The matter of the sachet naturally came to nothing, as the Empress Dowager casually pushed a palace maid forward to take the blame. Later, to console me, my father bestowed upon me the title of Chang'e and granted me the 12 lands of Changzhen as my fiefdom. The Empress Dowager also understood that she could not shake my position for the time being, and we coexisted peacefully for a long while. However, my father's health was gradually declining day by day. Perhaps because I visited him frequently, he developed a genuine affection for me. Chang'e, in the past, it was your father who wronged you. Have you ever resented your father? How could I dare to resent you? Father, you are the ruler of the nation. It was not that she didn't resent him, but that she dared not. He fell into silence, staring straight at the canopy above, and after a long while, he finally spoke. It's all my fault for being incompetent. If I had been more assertive back then, you wouldn't have had to. He looked at my arm. If my arm was in such a state, there were likely even more scars on my body. His eyes filled with heartache. Father, what's done is done. Regret won't change anything. Am I not doing just fine now? My smile did not reach my eyes. The suffering I endured cannot be made up. For with just this bit of guilt, Father, I have already lost the ability to become a mother. In my current state, no one would be willing to accept me. Now, I only have you. Father, you must treat me well, or I won't be satisfied. What kind of talk is this? There's no need to give up on yourself like this. Rest assured, I will make it up to you properly. What if you regret it later? I pretended to be troubled and said, what nonsense are you talking? I am the ruler of a nation. How could I go back on my word? How could you not? In the past, you also told the Empress that she was the woman you loved most in this life. Yet, new concubines kept entering the harem one after another, without ever stopping. Then grant me an imperial edict, one stamped with your seal. If you ever regret it one day, I will bring that edict to you. The Emperor hesitated. This imperial edict could not be issued lightly, especially a blank one bearing the Great Seal. It must not be given out carelessly. Alas, it seems I should not have returned. No one wished for my return. I am merely a disgrace to Eastern Jin, a shame to all women. Enough, enough. Here, take it. 6. Princess, you are not a disgrace. Women's chastity is never beneath their skirts. On the way back, the dull-witted guard suddenly said to me. I stared at him, as if something was about to burst forth. I smiled faintly, and suddenly felt relieved. Yes, women's chastity is never beneath their skirts. I put on an act in front of my father, in front of everyone. But how could I not care? I once envied those carefree women, who laughed without worries, and also envied ordinary couples, supporting each other, living a simple yet happy life. I have stayed awake late at night staring at the scars on my body, and often dreamt of the struggles I endured in the Western Ju. I look at this impeccably clean person before me, who, as always, keeps his head slightly lowered, adhering strictly to etiquette. Suddenly, I had the urge to see him panic. Suddenly, I wanted to pull him down, to plunge him into the darkness with me. I withdrew my gaze, despising my own thoughts, my heart screaming wildly while simultaneously filled with contempt. That dull-witted guard seemed to become a glimmer of light in my monotonous days, but he was too boring. At first, he still showed some reaction, but once he realized I was teasing him, he returned to his usual demeanor. News came from the palace that the emperor had decided to arrange a marriage between Qin Qingqing and Xiao Ji. He must be eager to pave the way for his stepson. Does he really like her that much? I narrowed my eyes and lay on the rocking chair, lazily fanning myself with a beauty fan. When Qin Qingqing came to see me, her eyes were red. Imperial sister, I don't want to marry Xiao Ji. I looked at her teasingly and took a casual sip of tea. Imperial sister, I know you can help me. Tell me, what can I do? Kill Xiao Ji? I smiled faintly, as if killing someone was as ordinary as drinking water. Qin Qingqing was taken aback, trying to find any hint of a joke in my expression, but she was disappointed. She lowered her head and thought for a long time. I wasn't in a hurry, letting her consider it. Finally, she looked up and said to me firmly, Your Highness, Xiao Ji has been keeping close company with Li Zi, the attendant who serves in the imperial study. He often stays overnight in the palace. Your Highness, from childhood to now, Mother has always claimed she was doing it for my own good, making me learn countless things, making me please Father, and making me stay away from everyone. I've never had anyone I could talk to since I was little. Even the palace maids serving me were sent by Mother. Every time I follow you, they always report back to Mother, telling her everything you and I have done. Mother always tells me I shouldn't be friends with you, that you'll harm me, but I often think, elder sister, you no longer have Mother's love, and Father pays no attention to you either. Besides you, no one else cares for me. I refuse to ignore you. Later, Xiao Ji appeared, and I was happy that you had someone you liked, but that Xiao Ji kept talking to you so warmly while constantly looking at me. The things he gives you, I'll have a copy of the next day. I've locked them all in the storage room. I'm afraid you'll be sad if you see them. But after Mother found out, she always urged me to spend more time with Xiao Ji. When you and Xiao Ji got engaged, Mother scolded me again for being useless. After learning that Xiao Ji hadn't consummated the marriage with you and had always been fond of me, she incited Xiao Ji to persuade our father to send you on a marriage alliance. Then she forced me to be with Xiao Ji. I refused, and she scolded me again. I know she doesn't want you to live better than me, and she also wants me to marry well, because if I marry well, I can provide support to the imperial brother. I listened quietly as she poured out her grievances over the years. When she mentioned her royal brother, I thought to myself, the stepmother may not be a good person, but the sons she gave birth to are all quite decent. Her royal brother has always been talented, but he is too humble and lacks the decisiveness of a ruler. Since Xiao Ji has been chasing after Qin Qingqing all day long, he must be part of her royal brother's team. But why hasn't he sought to marry Qin Qingqing all these years? I wonder, is Xiao Ji your imperial brother's man? I don't know. The imperial brother doesn't seem to treat him any differently. Qin Qingqing's elder brother is ranked second. Qin Mo. There's also another one, the fourth brother, Qin Ming. He has remained low-key over the years, but has never made any mistakes. Everything he's handled has been completed satisfactorily. Could it be that Xiao Ji is his man? So Xiao Ji never asked to marry Qin Qingqing, or rather, he was observing, waiting to see who would emerge victorious in the end. These few days, you hold off Xiao Ji, the rest is up to me. I need to investigate Qin Ming. Okay. 7. Qin Ming concealed himself well, but money can make the devil turn the millstone. Xiao Ji often went to his palace at night, staying for at least the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Now, Xiao Ji must die. Qin Ming must also die if he ascends to the throne. Given his nature, no one will survive. Father has been growing increasingly ill these past few days, to the point where he struggles even to rise and attend to state affairs. Father, since you are so seriously ill, why not let the second brother assist you? It would also serve as a valuable experience for him. I picked up the medicine in my hand and said while feeding him. Father just looked at me with confusion, not understanding why I was speaking up for Qin Mo. Forgive my bluntness, but the fourth brother's temperament is unsuitable, and the second brother lacks some decisiveness. After watching my father write the edict appointing Qin Mo as crown prince and entrusting him with regency, I smiled even more brightly. He looked at my smile, seemingly understanding something, and stared at me intently. What do you intend to do? What can I do, Your Majesty? I'm just happy for you. I'll keep the edict safe for you now. The Emperor glanced at the medicine bowl beside him, sweeping it to the ground with a forceful motion, his gaze fixed intently on the spilled medicine. Father, how could I resort to such a foolish method as poisoning? I couldn't help but chuckle. Your beloved Empress knew how to frame me using a sachet. Why would I pass up such a clever method? I'm not foolish. There are many ways to make someone die. Father, do you know, I learned a great deal in the Western Jew, including how to make someone die without a trace. Father, do you know what things should not be eaten together? Do you know what combinations can cause irreversible harm to the body? I said softly with a smile. Unfilial daughter, cough. Cough, cough. His face flushed red, but he lacked the strength to scold me loudly, only looking at me with a pained expression as he said, even if sending you away back then was my fault, after you returned, I have been making it up to you. I gave you everything you wanted, so why are you still not satisfied? Even now, he still puts on this hypocritical act of genuinely caring for me. But father, are all the hardships in my life truly from you? However, father, there is one thing I would like to ask you for an answer. He turned his head and closed his eyes, pretending not to want to speak with me, but I didn't care so long as he could hear me. Father, did mother really have an affair with the guard? I asked word by word. He instantly opened his eyes. What do you know? I know nothing. But I can investigate on my own. However, I would rather hear it from you directly. Father, do not rush to answer. Think it over carefully. After all these years, I do not wish to hear any evasive words. When mother passed away, I was already 5 or 6 years old, though not yet an adult who understands everything. I was no longer a naive child who knew nothing. Father instantly flew into a rage. What exactly are you trying to say? Are you questioning me? In the past, I couldn't understand why mother would betray father. She came from a noble family and was exceptionally intelligent. How could she have been defeated so easily? Later, I realized it wasn't the stepmother who brought her down, but her own downfall, betrayed by a close friend, framed, and worst of all, the one she loved most had always shielded and indulged her. It wasn't the stepmother who overthrew mother, it was mother herself. Enough, even if father doesn't say it, I already know, but since father chooses not to speak, then let it remain unsaid forever. I picked up the porridge beside me. Father, is the meal I prepared delicious? He tried to keep his lips tightly shut, but the porridge spilled everywhere. I frowned slightly, yet still patiently wiped it away for him. Father, it's not proper to be rough. You should just obey me quietly. Seeing that he still refused to open his mouth, I gradually lost my patience, pried open his tightly shut lips, and poured the medicinal porridge directly in. Look at you, making me have to be forceful. He choked and couldn't speak, only using all his strength to clutch his throat, trying to spit out the porridge. Clapping his hands, Qin Ming and Xiao Ji, who had been knocked unconscious, were brought in. It was originally just for Qin Ming, but since both of them were here, there was no choice but to bring them both. I glanced at the guard, and he nodded at me. What do you want to do? Father glared at me angrily, questioning me in a voice already hoarse. I just glanced at him. It's not what I want to do, but what Prince Sai and Xiao Ji want to do. Father, do you know, when my men arrived, the fourth prince and Xiao Ji were together. Tell me, what were the two of them doing together late at night? Unless they're into each other. I spoke mockingly, wondering how he felt now, being played by a group of juniors. Father could no longer pay attention to me, just staring intently at the two of them. Seeing this, the two of them were awakened, still somewhat confused as they looked around in bewilderment. Finally, when she saw me and the Emperor, her expression shifted from confusion to shock, and ultimately to terror. Princess Changle, what do you want to do? Finally, Xiao Ji endured his fear and asked, as for me, you'd have to ask my father. I looked at my father, wondering whether he hated me more or Qin Ming more at this moment. His gaze kept shifting between me and Qin Ming, and finally he spat out a mouthful of blood before collapsing onto the bed. Oh, you both saw it. Father was so enraged by you that he spat blood. Qin Shi, you're committing regicide. Qin Ming suddenly understood something and suddenly struggled, trying to break free from the restraint. What are you talking about? Wasn't it you who murdered the emperor, the fourth prince, dissatisfied with the emperor's appointment of the second prince as crown prince, killed the emperor in a fit of rage, while Xiao Ji assisted from the side? I took out the imperial edict and unfolded it before them. At that moment, Qin Qingqing also arrived with Qin Mo Qin Qingqing, and I exchanged a subtle glance. I handed her the imperial decree and then turned to leave before Qin Ming and Xiao Ji could utter a word in their defense. Their mouths were gagged, and they were taken to prison. I also made sure to have them fed some specially prepared substances. Without a doubt, they would never have the chance to speak again. I glanced back at Qin Qingqing, illuminated by the lamplight, so radiant, so bright. Unfortunately, it was now the turn of the Steppe Empress. I promised Qin Qingqing to spare the Empress Dowager's life, but what kind of life that would be, I can't guarantee. I glanced at the little guard who had been silently carrying out his duties from start to finish, thinking that after this was over, I should let him go home. He was capable and could go far on his own. You, how could you be here? The Empress Dowager was startled by my sudden appearance and exclaimed angrily, "Of course. It's to give you a surprise. Your son, Qin Mo, has been named Crown Prince. The good son-in-law you favored, Xiao Ji, is a man of Qin Ming. Your daughter, with your son, caught Qin Ming committing regicide." The news I brought was more shocking than the last, and she seemed unable to believe it. "As for you, don't waste your energy. Your child is currently busy crying at the Emperor's place." Only then did fear appear in her eyes. She understood that I had come prepared today, and she could no longer call for help. "Moa will not let you off. Then, did you ever let my mother go?" My smile faded as I spoke in a low, somber tone. What nonsense are you talking about? I don't understand. Even Father Emperor has admitted it, and you still won't confess. Shall I speak instead? You took advantage of your friendship with my mother to gradually replace her in Father Emperor's heart. That alone would have been enough, but my mother wasn't even planning to compete with you anymore, so why did you have to frame her? What's even more ridiculous is that Father still protects you and indulges you. Have you slept well these past years? I take one step and speak one sentence, slowly moving closer to her. Who let her be born with everything? Why does she get to decide everything? Clearly, I'm better than her in music, chess, calligraphy, painting, poetry, and literature. Why is she always the most dazzling one wherever she goes? Just because she comes from a good family. She throws at me what she doesn't want. Do I need it? Do I need her charity? Why should it be that just because she comes from a better background, she's the legitimate daughter, I have to forever be overshadowed by her just because I'm a concubine-born daughter? Even though I tried so hard, studying late into the night every day, I could only ever be her shadow. Ha ha ha. So what if she won everything? In the end, she was still defeated by me. Even her daughter will never be as good as mine. I promised Qin Qingqing to spare your life, but I don't want you to live so easily. A glimmer of hope flickered in her eyes, only to be ruthlessly extinguished by me. What should we do, little guard? I turned to him with a smile. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Qin Shi, what do you think you're doing? How dare you humiliate me like this? Aren't you afraid others will find out? I am the Empress, perhaps angered by my attitude, or perhaps guessing what I was about to do. She roared. I looked at her, very curious whether she would choose to live or to take her own life. 9. I had the young guard find a man afflicted with a filthy disease. They were all given medicine, and I watched as the stepmother went from fierce resistance to acceptance, and finally even became proactive. A hand blocked my line of sight, and I turned to look at its owner. Don't look, it will taint your eyes. I smiled faintly and shook my head. After that, I no longer cared whether the secondary empress lived or died. I left with the man and gave him a sum of money for his medical treatment. I glanced back at the secondary empress. Her eyes were full of helplessness, tinged with a trace of despair. She chose to remain silent. No matter what she said, it would only lead to trouble. I did spare her life. Qin Qingqing had no idea what I had done to her mother, and she remained as close to me as ever. Later, when the late emperor was laid to rest, the stepmother empress dashed her head against his coffin and died. Instead, she left behind a beautiful reputation. I dismissed the guards from the estate, took my belongings, and, ignoring Qin Qingqing's pleas, headed to my fiefdom. Spring came after winter passed, and I fulfilled my childhood dream of traveling far and wide. I experienced the diverse customs of different regions and learned that beyond the vast ocean, there are other countries. I even encountered peculiar foreigners with yellow hair and blue eyes this year. I led my horse back to the capital, coming to attend Qin Qingqing's wedding. She had finally found the man she truly wanted to marry. I also learned that the young guard from years ago is now the commander of the Imperial Guard. See, I'm the one who can take him far. I've seen it. Qin Qingqing's husband is handsome and treats her well. He's someone worthy of trust. Your Highness, I am Jiyu Huai. Please take care of me. The young guard rode his horse to block the path I was about to take. His eyes were as clear as ever, and he smiled gently at me. My name is Jiyu Huai, and I am a soldier. The first time I saw the princess was in the Western Ju Palace, when I followed Xiao Ji into the palace. The princess sat quietly beside the body of the Western Ju emperor. She had killed him with her own hands, yet an aura of sorrow enveloped her. Later, I heard that the princess was looking for attendants, so I went to sign up and successfully entered the princess's residence. The Grand Princess made her residence extremely magnificent, and she herself was exceedingly extravagant, but I seemed to be able to see the sorrow emanating from her very core. I think she must often lick her wounds. I watched her always laughing and flirting with those guards, and I felt a bit jealous, but when she walked up to me, I couldn't bring myself to look at her. I was afraid she might notice something, so I could only lower my head and hide my emotions. I watched the princess consort take each step with careful calculation, her sorrow hidden within her plans. Later, she successfully avenged herself and her mother, and I was genuinely happy for her from the bottom of my heart. But she dismissed the guards in the mansion and left without a trace. Little guard, you should be like the eagle in the sky, free to soar. The princess said that to me before she left, so I tried hard to climb upward, wanting to keep up with her steps. Later, she finally returned. I didn't want to lose her again, so I gathered my courage and stopped her from leaving. Your Highness, I am Jiyu Huai. Please take care of me. My heart was beating rapidly, and my hand unconsciously tightened the reins. She simply raised a smile, brighter than any I had seen before. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. In my past life, my husband, who was a live-in son-in-law, died shielding me from an arrow on his deathbed. He said he would die 100 times for me without regret, only asking me to treat his parents and siblings well. I was filled with deep guilt. I provided his parents with fine clothes and sumptuous food, and granted his siblings wealth and honor. Yet, at the moment when the oil was exhausted and the lamp was about to go out, I learned that my husband, who had faked his death to escape, had already settled down in Jiangnan with his childhood sweetheart, raising a family of their own, and my own parents and siblings, who had poisoned me, were only waiting for me to take my last breath so they could bring their family of 4 back to the capital, devour my inheritance, and reap the rewards without lifting a finger. Unable to let go of my hatred, I set a fire that sent his entire family to the underworld. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day he faked his death. The moment the arrow fell, I plunged a poisoned hairpin deep into his chest and twisted it hard. In this life, my husband-in-law was destined to die a miserable death, but his heartless family would not escape suffering either. Ambush. Protect the young lady and her husband. Amid the panicked shouts of the guards, I realized I had been reborn. I was reborn on the very day my husband from my past life, Lu Jingshan, faked his death to escape. In my past life, on this very day, Lu Jingshan, amidst the panicked shouts of the guards, threw himself recklessly under my carriage, risking his life to shield me, only to be struck in the abdomen by a poison arrow that fell from the sky. Upon returning to the mansion, the poison had seeped into his bones, leaving no cure. I was utterly heartbroken, yet he calmly took my hand and said with deep affection, "Don't cry, my heart will break if you do. You know, I love you deeply, and for you, I would willingly die 100 times. My only regret is that I cannot fulfill my filial duties at my parents' bedside, nor can I be the shelter that shields my younger siblings from the wind and rain. Are you, I beg you, after I die, do not grieve, do not be sad, take good care of my family, promise me, please, so that I may rest in peace." With tears in my eyes, I agreed, and he finally closed his eyes. For the rest of my life, I could never let go. Unable to avoid sorrow and grief, I could only do my utmost to fulfill filial duties to his parents, providing them with luxuries they had never known, and sparing no effort to pave the way for his younger brother's future with money, using connections to help his sister marry into a higher status, so that he could rest in peace even after death. Finally, at the age of 30, I collapsed before his memorial tablet, consumed by pent-up sorrow and falling gravely ill. Just as I was filled with hope to reunite with Lu Jingshan on the road to the underworld, I learned from a misdelivered letter that Lu Jingshan was not dead at all. After faking his death to escape, he had settled in Jiangnan with his childhood sweetheart, where they had a pair of children. They lived in luxury, spending my Qin family's silver, surrounded by servants, living a life of pure joy. They called me that foolish woman who squandered wealth, mocked me for crying my eyes out over a piece of wood, and even cursed me to be poisoned to the core, wishing for my early death to end it all. Only then did I realize that even my frail, exhausted body had been poisoned by Lu Jingshan's parents and siblings. Hatred burned like fire, keeping me alive with my last breath to host a grand family banquet. The Lu family thought I would hand over the Qin family's business at the feast, allowing them to bring back the family of 4 from Jiangnan, to usurp the nest and live in luxury for the rest of their lives. But as the wine laced with knockout drops was poured, they fell to the ground one by one. I did not let them die easily. They were bound hand and foot and forced to kneel in the courtyard, and only after everyone had fully awakened was a torch thrown onto their bodies. Drenched in tung oil, I sat quietly outside the courtyard, holding a teacup, watching coldly as they were devoured by the flames, pleading and screaming in agony until finally falling silent. After their shattered bones were thrown into the mass grave to be fed to the dogs, the entire family went neatly and orderly to the underworld. It's just a pity that I, too, was beyond cure, and before I could receive the good news from the Jiangnan assassins, I breathed my last. I never thought I could come back. Watching Lu Jingshan rush toward me in a panic, I hid the cold smile at the corner of my lips. In this life, he will naturally meet a miserable end, but his heartless and ungrateful family will not fare any better. Be careful. Lu Jingshan seemed to have eyes on his back. Just as the sharp arrow pierced through the air, he threw himself onto me without hesitation, putting on the act of loving me as if his life depended on it. But at the same moment the arrow pierced his flesh. The hairpin hidden beneath my sleeve was driven into his chest with all my might. He spat out a mouthful of blood and immediately went limp in my arms. His gaze drifted downward, landing on my hand gripping the arrow, which I had just thrust 3 inches deeper. His eyes filled with confusion. With a cold glare, I pulled out the hairpin. As he fell, I caught him in my arms, mimicking his tender, affectionate manner, and whispered word by word into his ear, not even taking the acting seriously. A bitter flesh scheme without a hint of suffering. How do you expect it to succeed? Well, as husband and wife for a time, how could I not help you? I've just given you a hand, with the cloak covering it. Who would know I've sent you on this final journey? So, how about it, sending you off to your death with the same tender affection you once showed? Are you satisfied? As soon as the words left my lips, I gritted my teeth once more. With a muffled groan, the feigned arrow, driven by my force, pierced through Lu Jingshan's abdomen. Blood stained my hands completely, and I was utterly disgusted. In a fit of recklessness, I pressed down on his wound. Does it hurt? Tell me, if your childhood sweetheart from Jiangnan's brilliant plan really gets you killed by my hand. Do you think she'll suffer more than you are right now? I'd love to make a bet. If I win, your whole family dies. If I lose, your whole family will wish they were dead. How about that? Lu Jingshan was both shocked and terrified, trembling in pain as he pointed at me, unable to speak for a long time. I shook my head regretfully, then shouted coldly to the guards surrounding us, "My husband has been struck by an arrow and is in critical condition. The villain is so malicious, he must be torn to pieces." That villain fled toward the lake. Drive him into the water. Lu Jingshan's face paled when he heard I intended to wipe out the bandits, but he let out a soft sigh of relief upon learning I only forced them into the lake. I took in his expression, lowered my head, and smiled faintly. Your father knows how to swim, doesn't he? Falling into the lake won't kill him, right? Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I won't let you down. Lu Jingshan struggled to get up, but as my fingers dug deep into his wound and twisted mercilessly. The pain became unbearable, his eyes rolled back, and he passed out. I wiped the blood from my hands with his cloak, then calmly covered the gaping, bloody wound. Your retribution has come, my son. At the same moment, Mother Lu's voice came from behind, wailing and sobbing as she rushed over, embracing Lu Jingxin and pounding 2 fists against his chest. You foolish child, get up now, she wept bitterly, her cries filled with sorrow. She played the role of a heartbroken mother to perfection, yet completely failed to notice that Lu Jingxin's dark cloak was already soaked through with blood. Nor did I ever notice that every punch she threw landed on the wound made by my hairpin. The incident happened so suddenly that I didn't have time to prepare further. The small amount of poison in the hairpin was meant for self-defense and might not have been enough to kill Lu Jingxin, but after these few punches, it's likely he'll find it difficult to survive. Seeing Lu's mother putting less and less effort into her act, her punches growing weaker and more reluctant, I couldn't bear it any longer. Pushing her aside, I cooperated fully by swinging my arm in a wide arc, delivering several sharp slaps to Lu Jingxin's face. Did you hear your mother calling you? You unfilial son, wake up quickly. Are you trying to worry your mother to death? Get up. The sound of my forceful slaps startled Lu's mother, causing her to pause mid-wail. She even forgot to continue her dry sobbing, but when I turned my tear-filled eyes toward her, she burst into loud cries. My son, how cruel you are. Wake up quickly. Are you trying to worry me to death? Have you forgotten how I raised you, feeding you with my own hands through all the hardships, all these years? Your worthless father never cared about anything. Your brother was disobedient. Your sister was useless. Who else could I rely on but you? You were always the most obedient, and now you're leaving me like this. Isn't that taking my life? My fate is so bitter, she cried with increasing fervor, even recounting the tragic story of her life in detail, and I listened quietly, offering words of comfort and agreement, even subtly stepping on Lu Jingxin's trembling hand, allowing Lu's mother's heartfelt performance to slowly crush Lu Jingxin's hope for survival into dust. In my past life, it was precisely because of her actions that Lu Jingxin's death to save me became known to everyone. For years afterward, whenever the Lu family members appeared on the verge of tears in public, the Qin family and I were branded as ungrateful and heartless, slandered beyond recognition. As a result, my mother was physically and mentally exhausted, falling ill early and passing away. I was also swept along, forced to compromise myself time and again to fulfill their wishes. But this time, the one bound by moral obligations will no longer be me, and the ones suffering a living death will not be my family. Only after watching Mother Lu cry her fill did I viciously stomp on Lu Jingxin's finger. As he let out a muffled groan, I hurriedly lifted his cloak and, pointing at his blood-soaked clothes, cried out in alarm, Mother, there's so much blood. If you keep crying like this, will my husband's blood all drain away? How could this happen? Mother Xie trembled all over and immediately fell to the ground with a thud. How could he have struck so brutally? But the thought that it might be a scheme by the Lu family to feign injury made her feel at ease again. After all, the otherwise useless Lu father was exceptionally skilled in archery. It's fine, we'll go back to the Lu family and find the divine physician. My son will surely be safe and sound. She thought I didn't know that even the so-called divine physician had been prearranged, yet I not only did not stop her, but also allowed her to stuff Lu Jingxin into her own carriage. Just like in my previous life, she took advantage of my unpreparedness and forced a fake death pill into Lu Jingxin's mouth, planning to fake death and escape. Whether this medicine is arsenic or a sweet treat remains to be seen. Just as in my previous life, when the doctor invited by Lu's mother saw the wound, he gasped in shock and earnestly said that Lu Jingxin had been delayed for too long, had lost too much blood, and was likely beyond the help of any medicine. He was so panicked that his hands were trembling. However, Mrs. Lu nodded secretly, satisfied with the doctor's acting skills. Then, her body went limp, and she threw herself beside Lu Jingxin's bed, wailing loudly. Every word and sentence spoke of how Lu Jingxin had died for me, how deeply devoted, and yet how foolish, leaving her with no one to rely on in her old age, and causing her younger siblings to lose a brother. How heartless and cruel. In my previous life, it was her pitiful appearance that filled me with immense guilt, leading me to promise on the spot that no matter what, I would ensure they lived a life of wealth and luxury. But in this life, I pretended to be on the verge of fainting from tears, slumping weakly onto the stool to rest for a while, stubbornly refusing to utter a single word in response. Only when she had cried herself out of strength did Mother Lu glance at me, who had remained silent all along, and tug at Lu Jingshan's hand, shaking it gently. "Jingshan, do you have anything to say? As long as you speak, your mother and your younger siblings will risk their lives to make it happen for you. You have such deep feelings for Yu, and she will surely spare no effort to let you rest in peace." In my previous life, at this moment, Lu Jingshan, who was pretending to be unconscious, slowly woke up and told me that he would have no regrets even if he died 100 times, begging me to take care of his parents and siblings. But now, Lu's mother is desperately shouting, his younger brother Lu Jingyuan is shaking him vigorously, and his sister Lu Ying is secretly pinching him, tormenting him to the point of utter chaos, yet he shows no reaction at all. Once again, I lost control of my emotions, rushed over, and slapped him twice across the face. "Wake up, you promised to stay with me for a lifetime, to cherish and protect me forever. How can you die, if you don't get up? I won't wait for your tombstone, I'll find someone else. Take my new love and throw your bones to the dogs. Use your skull to fill a cesspit, so you can't even rest in peace," I cried with deep sorrow, slapping him mercilessly, playing the role of a grief-stricken, distraught wife flawlessly. Only when Lu Jingshan's cheeks were swollen high and bright red blood kept spilling from the corners of his mouth did his younger brother Lu Jingyuan and sister Lu Ying hurriedly hold me back from both sides. "Sister-in-law, please don't be too agitated. Even in heaven, my brother couldn't bear to see you in such grief. For his sake, you must live well." I slapped Lu Ying across the face, sending her tumbling to the ground on the spot. Her eyes flashed with a fierce glare, and I immediately began to curse. "Are you cursing your elder brother to die? After all the kindness I've shown you, while he still has breath in him, you're wishing him to the heavens? Fine, fine, what an ungrateful wretch. Someone, bring back all the gold, silver, and fine silks I sent to Lu Ying's courtyard to the Qin family. If you've even abandoned your own brother, how can you be worthy of the fine clothes and lavish food given by her brother?" Lu Ying's pupils contracted, and I immediately cut off her unspoken words. "Say one more word, and I'll take back this mansion too." She had a hard life in the Lu family, living in the smallest courtyard, wearing outdated dresses. Even her marriage had become a stepping stone for her brother's ambitions. Lu's mother constantly called her a worthless burden, while Lu's father tacitly allowed the rest of the family to treat her like a servant out of pity for her helplessness. I offered her shelter, supported her with real money, and even held banquets time and again to find her a suitable husband. Yet, while she appeared grateful on the surface, she secretly resented me for insulting her with money and repeatedly using her as a foil to humiliate her in public. Even the prospect of becoming a high-ranking matriarch that I sought for her was, in her eyes, nothing more than my condescending charity. After Lu Jingshan faked his death and escaped, she would come to see me every now and then, bringing medicinal soups and snacks. I truly believed that my sincerity had earned hers in return, letting my guard down completely, unaware that the soups and snacks were laced with a slow-acting poison meant to take my life. In this life, I have withdrawn my condescending charity. Let's see what fate awaits Lu Ying, the stepping stone of the struggling Lu family. "Sister-in-law, enough." The physician finally couldn't bear it any longer and loudly interrupted when Lu Jingshan began vomiting large amounts of black blood. Jingshan's wound has pierced through his abdomen, and he is already in critical condition. The injury on his chest carries a potent poison, and the beating accelerated his blood flow, allowing the poison to invade his internal organs. There is truly no cure for him now. Instead of making a fuss, it would be better to prepare for his funeral and give him a dignified farewell. What was meant to be a feigned death turned into a real one. The three of them paled, looking in disbelief at Lu Jingshan, whose breath was as faint as a thread. Mother Lu's eyes flickered, and she suddenly knelt down before me. "Qin Yu, my son was injured saving you. You cannot stand by and watch him die. The Qin family is wealthy and influential, and your grandfather even holds the position of prime minister. What kind of expert can't you find? Go, find someone to save my son. Go now." The Lu family was originally an aristocratic lineage, but their fortunes had declined, leaving them with no remaining strength. By the time it came to Lu Jingshan's generation, only he stood out like an orchid and jade tree, with a handsome appearance that was truly impressive. Since my mother's time, my Qin family has always taken in obedient sons-in-law, ceded power to the court, preserved the wealth of our ancestors, and lived a carefree and contented life without worldly strife. I was drawn to Lu Jingshan's good looks, while he was attracted to the Qin family's wealth and prosperity. It was a perfect match. He played the role of a virtuous and capable son-in-law flawlessly, treating me with utmost sincerity, gentleness, and consideration, excelling in every aspect. The Lu family, thanks to his thoroughness, received multifaceted support from my Qin family, and in the capital, they managed to live a life that, while not the best, was certainly better than many. If Lu Jingshan were gone and I remarried, everything the Lu family has now would be lost. How could the Lu family not be anxious? Back then, your mother vomited blood and was unconscious for over 3 months, yet she was pulled back from the brink of death. Why not give it a try, brother? If you refuse to do your utmost, we will dash ourselves against the stone lions at the Qin family's gate, staining your illustrious Qin family with our blood. Let the world see your ugly, hypocritical faces for twisting the truth and refusing to save a life. What a way to threaten with death! I only hope that when the day truly comes to sacrifice their lives, these few can still stand united as they do now. Suppressing the sarcasm at the corner of my lips, I raised my eyes and asked, "There is indeed a way. Let me ask you, mother, my brother, and my sister, would you choose a dignified death or a wretched life?" They chose the latter without hesitation. After all, as long as Lu Jingshan still had a breath left in him, the marital ties between the Qin and Lu families would remain intact, and the Lu family could continue to rely on the Qin family's influence to live comfortably. However, since those were their words, Lu Jingshan, you can't blame me for the living hell you're about to endure. The Miao Borderlands GU poison healer had already sent word ahead on my way back to the estate. He merely gave a slight nod, then poured a bowl of medicine, fouler than excrement, down Lu Jingshan's throat. Lu Jingshan, overwhelmed by the stench, furrowed his brow and repeatedly tried to spit it out, but the Miao healer forced it into his mouth and sealed it shut. He vomited repeatedly, only to swallow it back down again, a sight so revolting it was unbearable to watch. Lu's mother couldn't bear it any longer and asked weakly, "What is this? Why does it smell so terrible?" The GU doctor glanced at her. "Rotten corpse water from a body that's been dead for 49 days, mixed with stone scum pickled in a manure bucket. What? How could you feed him this? If we don't use poison to fight poison with this substance, how could he possibly come back to life? You should thank me for having such a good thing to save his life. If you don't trust me, I might as well not save this dead man." Mother Lu stammered, unable to voice her suffering, and could only weakly say, "It was my fault for speaking out of turn. I apologize for the trouble." The GU doctor turned around and pulled out 3 GU worms, each as long as a finger, and stuffed them into Lu Jingshan's wound. What is this now?" the GU doctor explained with a hint of disdain. "All his meridians are severed, beyond saving. I placed the GU worm I've nurtured for decades into his lower abdomen, letting it devour the stagnant blood and decaying flesh, reviving his blood vessels, barely keeping him alive. Once it enters the flesh, it can never be removed, and the daily gnawing on his bones and blood is agonizing beyond words. But if you want to save his life, this is the only way. This GU worm costs 1,000 gold, not a penny less. Whether to save him or not is up to you." The 3 of them choked on their words, but considering I was the one paying, and the entire Lu family stood to gain wealth and status, Lu Jingshan had no choice but to endure this suffering, so they nodded in agreement. Life-saving medicine, it's nothing more than GU worms that feed on the internal organs. Sure enough, as soon as the 3 GU worms entered, Lu Jingshan reacted in immense pain, but due to the poison on my hairpin, he could no longer speak or move his hands. His eyes were fixed on me, blinking frantically, yet Lu's mother couldn't understand what he meant. "Why can my son not speak?" The GU doctor slapped his forehead. "Did I not tell you? He can only cling to a thread of life, unable to speak, unable to move, suffering the torment of GU worms gnawing at him, enduring the agony of medicinal decoctions scraping away the poison, day and night without cease. Why didn't you say so earlier?" to make me watch my son suffer like this. Isn't that just making my heart ache to death? Cutting the flesh should be done with the knife of family affection, but I choose to use Lu Jingshan's living death to make them taste the bitterness of my past life, the heart-wrenching pain and helplessness that could not be undone. Gazing into Lu Jingshan's eyes, filled with fear and resentment, I whispered softly, to die with ease or to live in disgrace, which one did you choose? Clearly, it was your choice to make him wish he were dead. If you cannot bear it, then stop the medicine. After 3 days of agony, his breath will cease. What do you think? The three of them were left speechless. This path, destined to be one of unbearable agony, was personally sought for Lu Jingshan by his closest kin, but it wasn't over yet. Since the patient has regained consciousness, we can now suture the wound. However, the GU worm is fragile and cannot withstand the use of anesthesia. Therefore, you must endure the pain without it. Mother Lu staggered. If that's the case, why not act while he was unconscious? Are you deliberately tormenting my son? She was right. I wanted Lu Jingshan to experience the agony of having his flesh cut and bones broken, a pain worse than death. The GU doctor had his own explanation. He's as good as dead if he doesn't wake up. Why should I waste my full effort on treating a dead man's wounds? Mrs. Lu was choked with pain, unable to argue back. Meeting Lu Jingshan's hate-filled gaze directed at me, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Drag her away. Don't delay me from saving lives. Mrs. Lu, who could barely stand, was supported by her children and seated in a nearby armchair. Her face was deathly pale, her breathing ragged, and the pain was so intense she wished she could die on the spot. I gave the GU doctor a look, and he immediately took out a sharp knife, cutting into Lu Jingshan's chest. Lu Jingshan writhed in pain, drenched in sweat, his throat emitting gurgling sounds, a truly pitiful sight. His family could only watch helplessly as each cut of flesh and bone inflicted upon them the torment of powerlessness, cutting the flesh, setting the bones, stitching the wounds. Each slow, deliberate step took a full 2 hours to complete. During this hour, Lu Jingshan repeatedly fainted, only to be revived each time by the GU doctor under my signal, continuing the punishment of being flayed alive. By the end, Lu Jingshan was in tears, numb and resigned like a lamb awaiting slaughter. On the execution rack, it wasn't until the final needle was inserted that Lu Jingshan finally looked at me with a pleading gaze. He was begging me, having endured enough torment, to spare his loved ones and family. I hooked my arm around Bo Liang, leaning close to his ear to speak each word clearly. Guess why I went to such great lengths to keep you alive? His pupils contracted sharply, clearly understanding now to let him live like a dead dog was to make him witness the favorable outcomes of everyone in the Lu family. I had just turned around when Mother Lu grabbed my sleeve. It's because of you that Jingshan ended up in this half-dead state. He was always most worried about his younger siblings and parents. You must take on the responsibility of caring for his parents and siblings in his place. Finally, we've reached the moral coercion part again. Suppressing my sarcasm, I retorted, why does Mother keep saying that my husband was injured while saving me? On your father's anniversary, at his graveside, the one who struck you, was it not because of you? Could it possibly have been because of me? Lu Jingshan's younger brother, Lu Jingyuan, glared at me fiercely, determined to pin the blame on me. With a slight curl of my lips, the next moment, a servant urgently cried out, something terrible has happened. Master Lu is in trouble. His body was found on the lake, mangled and bloody. What? The members of the Lu family widened their eyes in shock, each more astonished than the last. What? Is it only allowed for him to play tricks and help Lu Jingshan fake his death, but not for him to suffer retribution and die without a whole body? The servant explained sadly. It is said that the day before yesterday, someone blocked Master Lu's way, forcing him to repay some debt. Master Lu, relying on his numbers, beat the man until he was blooded and threw him onto the street. I'm afraid it was those people's revenge, throwing Master Lu into the lake, where he was caught and shredded by the thousand-blade roller meant for thieves. The thousand-blade roller was set up last night after the princess's mansion was robbed by a servant. The princess ordered it to be installed to ensure that the thief and the stolen items would be shredded together. Whether the thief was shredded or not, I do not know, but Master Lu, who went into the water, was indeed mangled beyond recognition. Passing by several people, I looked at the trembling Lu Jingshan and faintly raised the corner of my mouth now. He knows why I forced his father into the lake. To die by 1,000 cuts. Lu's father truly met his deserved end, but it's not enough yet, I calmly called out. Since you came for revenge, killed my father and injured my husband, we should report it to the authorities immediately. The thief who killed my husband also fled across the lake. Investigating both cases together will surely yield results. With that one sentence, the three of them turned deathly pale. They knew that after Lu's father pretended to shoot Lu Jingxin, he panicked and fled into the lake, only to be torn to shreds by the 1,000-blade whirlpool. But if investigated closely, the Lu family's wolfish ambitions and sinister schemes would be exposed. Their wealth, their future prospects, and all the plans they had in mind would vanish like bubbles. Suppressing her grief, Mother Lu said in a daze, if we report this to the authorities, they will inevitably send the body to the coroner for an autopsy. Your father has already suffered such a tragic death, he cannot endure that kind of ordeal again. As the saying goes, to rest in peace, it's better to let your father be laid to rest as soon as possible. How could this be? I raised my eyes to look at Lu Jingyuan, raising an eyebrow as I asked, second brother keeps insisting that Jingxin's injuries are my fault, but why was our father, who went south for business, also reduced to a pulp? Whether this was aimed at me or at the Lu family, the person demanding the debt is the key, if it's a creditor. May I ask who the Lu family owes a debt to? Lu Jingyuan, the inveterate gambler, instantly turned deathly pale. Enough, Mother Lu shouted loudly, subtly shielding her beloved Lu Jingyuan behind her. Let's discuss these matters later. The urgent task now is to arrange your father's funeral. Anyone who disobeys will be unfilial to me and your father. Are you? Look at your father's matter. Her expectant gaze fell upon me, but I pretended not to understand and quickly ordered, Mother is right. The Lu family is holding a funeral, which is not good for my husband's recovery. Someone, take my husband back to the mansion. Mother Lu's brow twitched as she stood in front, refusing to make way. I then feigned confusion and asked, my husband is barely able to protect himself now, having nearly lost his life to those debt-collecting scoundrels. Does Mother still expect him to handle father's funeral arrangements? With your beloved son by your side, you naturally don't care for him, but he is my son-in-law, and my Qin family will take care of him. Attendants, let's return to the estate. The mention of son-in-law reminded her I have no obligation to manage the affairs of her Lu family. She took half a step back, and without looking back, I led the half-dead Lu Jingxin out of the Lu family estate gate. Part of the Lu family's money was sent to Jiangnan, while another portion was used to pay off Lu Jingyuan's gambling debts. Everything that belonged to Lu Ying has also been taken back by me now. We are in such dire straits that we cannot even afford to give Master Lu a dignified funeral. Naturally, they can only turn their attention to me. Do they intend to use my reputation to coerce me? I immediately used the money meant for feeding the dog to create a stir. Rumors spread all over the streets that Lu Jingyuan was addicted to gambling, had lost the family fortune, and had even cost his father his life and Lu Jingxin his future. The Qin family grew to despise him deeply. Because of this, to the point where they refused to even handle the funeral arrangements for old Master Lu. After the Lu family repeatedly sought an audience but were turned away, the butler mercilessly mocked them. Your family merely produced a son-in-law who married into another family. Does that mean the entire family intends to marry into our Qin household? Every time something happens, you trouble our young lady. Over the years, we've given you countless sums of money. How could you even force her to pay for a funeral? Is she your Lu family's blood bag, to be drained at your whim? If you outsiders don't know how to cherish your own young lady, we in the Qin family treasure her dearly. The commotion caused by the butler was quite loud, and passers-by coming and going witnessed the Lu family's disgraceful behavior in its entirety. In no time, it became widely known that the Lu family had maliciously slandered the Qin family, attempted to outsource the funeral arrangements, and pressured the Qin family to pay for their master's burial. The Lu family had lost all face and dignity. Just as they were about to resort to desperate measures, a servant inadvertently remarked, the young master is practically a useless man now, and whether he lives or dies depends entirely on the young lady's will. If the Lu family wants him dead, then go ahead and make a scene. The Lu family, fearing to act rashly lest they harm their own interests, could only scrape together some silver for The time being, barely managing to lay old Master Lu to rest, they immediately sent someone to Jiangnan to retrieve the silver that Lu Jing had hidden away. Feeling hopeful, Lu Jingyuan began to boast openly in front of others. Qin Yu is heartless and ungrateful. As soon as my elder brother fell ill, she turned her back on us, refusing to help the Lu family in our time of need, and even forbidding us from visiting my brother. Such a venomous woman is beneath our family's dignity to associate with. When my brother recovers, even if she tries to curry favor with the Lu family again, we won't so much as glance at her, even if she kneels and begs. Oh, so, second brother means to sever ties with my Qin family. Lu Jingyuan's body trembled. How could you be here? Is this place owned by your family? Is there a sign forbidding me, Qin Yu, from entering? Lu Jingyuan choked. I continued to ask coldly, is it true that you want to sever ties with me? Lu Jingyuan's lips trembled, but when all his good-for-nothing friends were watching him, he straightened his back and, in a desperate move, said, does having money and power make you so great? My father was at least your father-in-law, yet you didn't even arrange his funeral. What kind of daughter-in-law are you? Lu Ying also seized every opportunity to embarrass me in front of others. You were the one who shamelessly fawned over the Lu family, and now that you've turned against us, you even want to take back the gifts you gave. Do the people in the capital know how despicable you are? If my brother is fine, we won't bother with you, but if anything happens to him, the Lu family will not let this go. I nodded and replied, indeed, when I married your brother into the household back then, aside from the hefty dowry I promised, I also considered the Lu family's hardships and gifted them a residence, granted them shops. As for your daily necessities, food, clothing, shelter, and travel, the amount I provided is beyond calculation. Now that the relationship is severed, I should reclaim everything that belongs to the Qin family. As for my husband, due to the gambling debts of the Lu family's second son, he is now half dead, lying in bed, and the medicine he needs daily costs 100 taels of silver. I am a person of deep affection and loyalty, so naturally, I would not take advantage of his misfortune at this time by handing him a divorce letter and driving him out. Attendants, bring out the account books and calculate how much money the Lu family has taken from me over the years without giving anything in return, while reclaiming the Qin family residence. Collect it all as well, black and white on paper. Let the written word serve as proof. The two of them instantly turned pale. Qin Yu, are you really going to be this ruthless? Aren't you afraid my brother will resent you? Clearly, it was you who insisted on a clean break. How is it that I'm the one being called heartless in the end? As for your brother, if he truly has grievances against me, I can simply write a letter of divorce and send him back to the Lu family. Then the two of you can attend to him day and night. How does that sound? The two of them fell silent at once. Without a change in expression, I glanced at the crowd, and someone immediately began to stir up commotion. Could it be that second young Master Lu is really being kept by his sister-in-law? It seems he doesn't dare to sign. If you can't bear to part with wealth and status, just apologize to your sister-in-law, admitting that you're both hypocritical and opportunistic, taking advantage while pretending to be innocent. Isn't that hard? All that tough talk, and in the end, you're just a spineless coward begging for a way out. Lu Jingyuan couldn't stand being provoked. Gritting his teeth, he pressed his fingerprint down. Am I, a man of 9 feet, to be controlled by a woman like you? What does cutting ties matter? Our elder brother is bound to us by blood and will never abandon us. Besides, we have our own ways to survive and will never be driven to a dead end by you. Is she the good sister-in-law from Jiangnan, a venomous beauty full of cunning schemes? I didn't get to meet her in my past life, but in this one, I'm really looking forward to seeing her overnight. The Lu family was thrown back to square one without the money-making Mr. Lu and the strategic Lu Jingshan to rely on. They found themselves at a standstill, the whole family huddled in the old house, venting their helpless rage by cursing me to the bone. Even Lu Ying, for merely echoing Lu Jingyuan's words a couple of times, was slapped several times by Mrs. Lu. If it weren't for you, the jinx, offending people, how could we have ended up moving back to the old house? You're nothing but a failure, a troublemaker. I should never have given birth to a cursed star like you. Yet, after their anger subsided, they spoke with a smug sense of satisfaction. Zhao Yu still has Jingshan's tens of thousands of taels of silver. If we can get back half of it to tide us over, what's there to worry about for a good life? They had planned it all out perfectly, but unfortunately, the person Mother Lou sent to fetch the money was intercepted by me halfway. I pushed the silver note in front of him without even looking up. Tell her the Lou family is taking her back to the capital for a reunion. Once they enter the capital, this 1,000 taels is yours. No matter how far the journey or how powerless the whip, nothing compares to the satisfaction and efficiency of trapping the enemy and striking them down. Sitting beside Lu Jingshan, I detailed my arrangements one by one. He listened with excitement, his body smeared with the glint of gold and silver. I covered my nose and stepped out the door with utter disgust. Lock the door. It's so filthy, we can't let it taint others' eyes. A month later, the mother and son set off for the capital with their family fortune in a grand procession. Yet within just 3 days, they were waylaid by bandits who robbed them of every last coin. Watching the silver coins of my Qin family return to my hands, I smiled. She said the money is gone, but do you think the Lu family will believe it? The drama of dogs biting dogs is about to begin. Sure enough, not long after, a servant informed me that a distant cousin had traveled 1,000 miles to seek refuge with the Lu family. That cousin was delicate and charming, with a face as lovely as a lotus flower, especially endearing Mrs. Lu was overjoyed, especially with the 4 or 5-year-old boy, whom she held in her arms and couldn't bear to put down. Even though they were already struggling to make ends meet, Mrs. Lu insisted on forcing Lu Ying to pawn 2 fine bolts of fabric to throw a lavish banquet, welcoming the mother and son with open arms. Even Lu Ying's courtyard was forcibly taken by Mrs. Lu and given to the mother and son to live in. Lu Ying huddled in a side room and cried for half a day before coming to see me with reluctance, an opportunist who changes with the wind, only remembering my goodness when there's no way out. Naturally, I didn't see her, and I said to Lu Jingshan, who was trembling with fear, I've heard that Song Jiaoyu is quite cunning, able to coax the Lu family into sending half their fortune to Jiangnan. Guess who she'll set her sights on when she's at the end of her rope? Your dear sister isn't too foolish, she still knows to come to me for help. I suspect she wants to tell me about Song Jiaoyu and Lu Chengji's identities. But me, I've known all along, your son is clever and adorable. That child you accidentally caused me to lose back then, if it had been born safely, would likely have been just as lovely. What can I do? I am a wicked woman. You didn't allow my child to live, so I won't let your child live well either. I shook my head with great regret and sighed at the agitated Lu Jingshan. I haven't done anything yet, and your family members are already starting to turn on each other. They really can't hold their temper. Fine, even if you rot in bed, you won't get to see it. I suppose I can reluctantly tell you about it often. After all, in my past life, I suffered unbearably for over a decade. It's not too much for him to repay me with a few years of living hell. Not long after enjoying a few good days, I heard that the Lu family was thrown into chaos. Madame Lu and Lu Jingyuan refused to believe that Song Jiaoyu's money had been completely looted, thinking instead that she had kept a way out for herself now that Lu Jingshan was no longer useful. Song Jiaoyu also did not believe that Lu Jingyuan had lost half of his family fortune. She thought that Lu's mother intended to seize Lu Jingshan's business for her most beloved son. One was full of schemes and unwilling to yield an inch, while the other was consumed by rage and refused to back down. In their mutual confrontation, Lu's mother fainted 3 times from anger but could not bear to call a doctor, and Song Jiaoyu was beaten until her head bled by the mother and her 2 sons. Yet had no money to buy medicine. Only then did they finally believe that they had truly reached a dead end. So I gave them a path to death, adorned with flowers and splendor. Just like in my previous life, the old Marquis, who was bedridden and suffering from illness at 60, wanted to find a young woman to bring him luck through marriage. Without hesitation, I passed the hidden information to the Lu family. Although the old Marquis was aged, his taste remained refined. He wanted someone young and beautiful, well-educated, preferably from a prominent family, and even better if she was the legitimate daughter. The Marquis's household had made it clear beforehand, though they would receive 10,000 gold, the bride brought in for the auspicious marriage was to be buried alive with the deceased. If she fails to bring good fortune to the Marquis, it is her own ill fate. Should she delay the Marquis's journey, she naturally deserves death. Let her kneel in eternal penance for the Marquis. Life after life, the humiliation was laid bare almost openly. Families of status and reputation in the capital could not bear such disgrace. But the Lu family was different, with their lives hanging by a thread. What use was face? They set their sights on Lu Ying. They were only trying to persuade her with great effort. Not yet at the point of a desperate struggle, so I gave them a push, smiling as I instructed the butler. Weren't those friends of the Lu family's second young master driven out of the capital by me? Invite them back. Lu Jingshan sobbed and wailed incessantly, but not a single word was clear to me. He could act like a human because I pulled him out of the doghouse and draped him in human skin. Now, if he doesn't appreciate the favor, he can just roll back and be a beast again. 3 days later, Lu Jingyuan's so-called friends returned to the capital. They immediately took him and snatched a pair of Lu Ying's earrings to gamble at the betting house. Having won 50 taels of silver, he returned to the Lu residence in high spirits, patting his chest and promising that the Lu family could still live in luxury thanks to him. Madame Lu pleaded with him earnestly. You promised your mother you would quit gambling. You must not fall back into old habits. Lu Jingyuan was already beyond listening, insisting repeatedly that he knew what he was doing without the harsh whip of Father Lu, without the strict constraints of Lu Jingshan, and without my forceful measures. Lu Jingyuan had nothing to hold him back. He plunged headfirst into the gambling den, refusing even to return home. Small bets and minor wins could no longer satisfy his swelling heart, so he used the connections of the Qin family and his status as the young master of the Lu family to ascend to the second floor. But once he took that step, there was no turning back. In just 3 hours, he had managed to lose every last tael of the 10,000 taels of silver he had brought with both hands and feet. When the gambling house came to the Qin family to demand payment, I was utterly bewildered. What? Didn't you know that he has severed all ties with me? I spread the black and white contract before them, leaving the debt collectors speechless. If the money isn't received, Lu Jingyuan will have his hands and feet broken. At this point, the Lu family remembered me. Lu's mother wept bitterly at the Qin family's doorstep, begging me to save her precious son. Lu Jingyuan even softened his attitude, apologizing while pleading with his sister-in-law to save him. I didn't even show my face. The Qin family servants shouted while driving people away. You ungrateful wretches! A few days ago, when you severed ties with the young mistress, the young master was so furious he spat blood, insisting she have nothing more to do with you. How dare you have the nerve to come asking for money? First, return the thousands of taels you owe the Qin family. The few who refused to leave were beaten with sticks by the servants until they fled in panic. This time, with no way out, Mother Lu made up her mind. She said to Lu Ying with a sinister tone, you have to go, whether you want to or not. The Lu family has only this one son. Even if he causes a great disaster, as his mother, I can only bear the consequences for him. Besides, your little nephew is about to start school, and we are short of money. As an aunt, it is your duty to plan for your maternal family. The Marquis's mansion is wealthy, and if you marry into it, you might even enjoy a life of comfort. Even Chengji could study in the Marquis's school alongside the children of noble families. Wouldn't that be a bright future? Lu Yingji had no choice but to pretend to accept her fate, yet she packed her belongings overnight, ready to flee. But as soon as the door was pushed open, Song Jiaoyu stood smiling in the doorway. The night is deep and the dew is heavy. Where is my sister going? Chengji misses his aunt and wants to sleep with her. The small bundle was snatched away by Song Jiaoyu, and with a loud clatter, the closing wooden door crushed Lu Yingji's last hope. Mother and son, fearing that Lu Ying might run away and lose the wealth that was within their grasp, actually joined forces with Lu Ying's mother, keeping a close watch on her without leaving her side for a moment. It wasn't until the Marquis's household came to fetch her that they finally relaxed, as if they could already see wealth and glory beckoning to them. They even completely ignored Lu Ying's eyes, red with hatred. Lu Jingyuan even put on the airs of an elder brother and admonished her, don't worry, as long as the Lu family thrives and I, your elder brother, am well, you will have the strongest support. Even if you go to the Marquis's estate, no one will dare to bully you. Don't you love earrings? Once we get that 10,000 taels of silver, I'll pick out the finest set of jewelry for you and send it to the Marquis's estate. Let everyone in the capital see what a bright future and great fortune my sister, Lu Ying, is destined for. But I deceived them. It was true that the Marquis's estate promised 10,000 taels of gold, but they were afraid of criticism. It was offered to a woman who willingly agreed to serve as a lucky bride to ward off his illness. After a small sedan chair carried away the tearful Lu Ying, the Lu family bowed and scraped, eagerly awaiting the silver. The butler frowned. What silver? That silver was given to the bride for the wedding. What does it have to do with you? Are you trying to be parents who sell their children? Our Lord hates heartless and ungrateful people the most. Don't tell me that's what you are. Madame Lu's legs went weak. Lu Jingyuan, even more unreasonable, tried to rush forward to demand the money, but was beaten black and blue by the servants with a flurry of sticks. But it wasn't over yet. I nodded toward the figure in the dark alley, and moments later, the small door of the Lu family was kicked open. Today is the final deadline to repay the debt. Where's the money? Clutching her last shred of hope, Madame Lu chased the small sedan chair for 3 streets, falling and bleeding from her head, yet she never stopped. My dear daughter, please save your brother. I beg you, I promise, from now on, whatever your brother has, you'll have too. All right, save your brother, save me. The old nanny asked if she should stop, but Lu Ying, holding the heavy stack of banknotes, didn't even turn her head. Once I step out of that door, I no longer have a maternal home, so there's no need to pay any mind. Madame Lu watched helplessly as Lu Ying entered the Marquis's residence, while she herself was held back by cold, hard sticks outside the gate. No matter how loudly she shouted, no one responded. By the time she returned home, the debt collectors could see at a glance that there was no hope left. With a swift swing of the club, they snapped Lu Jingyuan's arm with a sharp crack. Lu Jingyuan's scream hadn't even finished when another blow fell. Madame Lu watched helplessly as 4 swift strikes turned her beloved son into a complete cripple. Unable to bear it any longer, she spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted dead away. Husband, what should we do? They're so pitiful. Tell me, should I let them die? Or would it be better to make them wish they were dead? And that dear childhood sweetheart of yours, all she cares about is money. She didn't even spare a thought to look at you. I press my finger against the scar on Lu Jingshan's chest, grinding it down hard. Your sincerity would be better off fed to the dogs. Truly, it's not as good as if I had torn it out myself. Lu Jingshan endured day and night, living a life worse than death. He knew every single misfortune that befell his loved ones all too well, yet remained utterly powerless to change a thing. That sense of helplessness was exactly the same as in my previous life, when I hated him to the bone, yet ran out of time, gasping my last breath before I could kill him. He knew I would not show mercy, and he could not bear the consequences. With his eyes, he pleaded with me to give him a quick death. I shook my head and refused. You are here to repay your debt. You have no right to choose. Mother Lu fell gravely ill from anxiety and anger, while Lu Jingyuan was left with broken limbs, completely incapacitated. All the burdens of the Lu family fell upon Song Jiaoyu. Yet, Lu Ying's wedding to bring good fortune succeeded. The very next day after the ceremony, the Marquis was able to sit up. She became the great savior of the Marquis's household, cherished by the Marquis as a treasure in the palm of his hand. Song Jiaoyu knew that Lu Ying hated her to the core, so she dared not approach Lu Ying directly. Instead, she sent Lu Chengji to intercept Lu Ying at the pavilion in the middle of the lake. Kneeling and begging her to return home to see their gravely ill mother, she naively believed she could still deceive Lu Ying into giving her money by appealing to family ties. Lu Ying nodded with a smile, taking Lu Chengji's hand as they walked toward the lakeside, but she subtly glanced at Song Jiaoyu hiding behind the willow tree. While Song Jiaoyu let out a sigh of relief, Lu Ying ruthlessly pushed Lu Chengji into the icy lake water. In the bitter cold of deep winter, the thick cotton coat quickly dragged the child down to the bottom. When Song Jiaoyu cried out in despair and rushed forward, she was pinned to the ground by Lu Ying's people. With a venomous expression, Lu Ying looked down at her and said, "How could this child be so careless as to fall into the lake, in the bitter cold of deep winter? His life is in grave danger. I cannot stand by and watch you perish. Please wait a moment, the guards who will rescue him will be here soon." Song Jiaoyu cursed like a madwoman. "That is your own nephew. How could you do such a cruel thing to him? You will die a terrible death, harming an innocent child. Just wait for heaven to strike you down with thunder." Lu Ying smiled. An innocent child. He was the only one who knew about my escape, yet he immediately brought you to stop me. He wanted to go to a good school, wear fine clothes, and live a life of wealth and luxury, so he wouldn't let me leave. He said, "Auntie, this is your fate, you must accept it. Now, I'll make him, you, and the entire Lu family recognize this fate of having no descendants. What does it matter that I, Lu Ying, am a woman? I'm the one who laughs last, lives the best, and finally holds my head high." Song Jiaoyu watched helplessly as the limp body was fished out of the lake. She cried her heart out, while Lu Ying laughed so hard she trembled with delight. "So, they can also cry like dogs in front of me, but in the past, I was the one they trampled underfoot and treated like a dog. What is meant by the wheel of fate turns? This is exactly it. Nephew, how laughable. Go ask my brother, does he dare to acknowledge you? Go ask the Qin family, will they accept you? A thing that should never have been born should have died long ago." Every word pierced straight to the heart. Hatred reddened Song Mingzhao's eyes. Without a second thought, she pulled out her hairpin and lunged straight for Lu Ying's heart. But just as the hairpin was about to pierce flesh, a guard drew his sword to block it, severing her right arm on the spot. Blood splattered across Lu Ying's face, her hatred making her eyes terrifyingly red. "You dare kill me? If not for you, we could have lived a life of luxury and ease relying on the Qin family. Even the men Qin you considered for me were either wealthy and noble or exceptionally talented. Yet you forced my brother to fake his death to escape, causing him to live a life worse than death, making our father die without a whole corpse, and making Qin you despise us to the core. It was you who destroyed our Lu family. This wretch is so good at harming others. Smash that seductive, wretched face of hers and throw her out." Song Jiaoyu, wounded and crippled, lay unconscious on the street, abandoned and pitiful, with no one to pick her up. Lu Ying's guard spoke with conviction. "Since the assassination failed, we'll teach her a lesson as a warning to others. If anyone dares to challenge the concubine again, they'll meet the same fate." Finally tasting the flavor of power, Lu Ying looked at me from across the street and said with arrogance, "I don't need to beg you for mercy to enjoy the same fine clothes, sumptuous food, and glory and wealth as you. Qin Yu, I am far more capable than you. With 10,000 taels of silver by my side, how am I any worse than anyone else?" I lowered my gaze, shook my head, and laughed softly to myself. Having money to take, but no life to spend it, it's all in vain. The next moment, the steward of the Marquis's estate rushed over in a panic. "It's terrible, the Marquis has passed away. The lady of the house has ordered that concubine Lu be brought back to the estate immediately to prepare for the burial rites." Lu Ying swayed on her feet, looking at me as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. In her past life, the Marquis had briefly rallied for a few days before suddenly passing away. At that time, the bride brought in for the auspicious marriage was just like Lu Ying, suddenly falling from a high building, shattered to pieces. Lu Ying, just like her, was dragged away, crying and screaming, struggling desperately against her fate, even frantically begging me in her panic, "Sister-in-law, save me, please save me. In the past, you were the only one who treated me with the utmost kindness and sincerity, and you were the only one who told me not to belittle myself, to live well, and to live out my own brilliance. I truly remembered that, and everything I did was because I remembered your words. Sister-in-law, give me a chance. I truly know I was wrong. I will sincerely reform, and I will treat you with 100,000 times the sincerity. Please, sister-in-law, save me." She lay prostrate on the ground, clutching the hem of my pale blue dress, refusing to let go. I leaned down, prying her fingers open one by one, shattering her hope for survival. "It's too late, Lu Ying. I won't stumble in the same place twice." In despair, she was dragged back to the Marquis's mansion. What awaited her was a bowl of lethal poison, forcing her to kneel before the Marquis's coffin for all eternity to atone for her sins. I brushed off the corner of my robe, which was not stained with a speck of dust, and turned back to the mansion to tell Lu Jingshan this earth-shattering good news. "How do you think your childhood sweetheart will treat your family? I can't wait to see it. A white lotus turning dark, it must be quite the spectacle. Lu Jingshan is vomiting black blood again. Truly useless to the point of being utterly nauseating. Within a few days, it was said that Song Jiaoyu quietly sold the Lu family's old mansion, used 10 taels of silver to send Lu's mother and Lu Jingyuan to a dilapidated estate outside the capital, and ran off with the money herself. She is indeed a schemer. willing to do anything for wealth and glory, full of cunning and utterly devoid of sincerity. To be honest, if she weren't my opponent, I would almost admire her, with the hatred spanning 2 lifetimes. I cannot forgive her, she hadn't run far before I stopped her. Finally we meet. Hello there, Song Jiaoyu. She trembled as if she had seen a ghost. I stepped closer, smiling with utmost warmth. Thank you so much for helping me finish off the entire Lu family, saving me a great deal of effort. Now, it's your turn. She is utterly terrified. Was it all your scheme? Otherwise, you don't actually think that Evilders will be punished by heaven, do you? Of course, I have to settle the blood debt with blood. She was just about to run away. Thud, a blow struck her knee, and she fell to the ground, unable to get up. I looked down at her wretched state and said regretfully, what a pity, there are so few heartless and ungrateful people left, and today we're about to lose another one. Only after the maid had searched her and taken all her gold, silver, and valuables did I finally breathe a sigh of relief, saying, you are the one Lu Jingshan loves most. Now that the Lu family has fallen on hard times, how can you stand aside and remain untouched? Lu's mother is bedridden with illness, barely able to get up, and Lu Jingyuan is disabled in all 4 limbs, naturally unable to make a living. All that awaits them is begging. Since that's the case, for the family to be complete and together, you should go too. The servants understood and, with a swing of their clubs, broke her legs amidst her screams, leaving one hand to beg with. Is my last shred of kindness. The wind was strong. Standing under the corridor, I watched Lu Jingshan, emaciated and covered in festering wounds without a single patch of healthy flesh, and smiled. In our wager, there has never been a winner or loser, but from the moment I sat at the table, I never allowed myself to lose. So, a fate worse than death is theirs, and dying with eyes wide open is theirs as well. Are you satisfied with this? That very night, I sent someone to deliver him, now restored with memories of his past life, to the dilapidated temple where the Lu family was taking shelter. Unfortunately, he was now covered in festering sores, emitting a foul stench, a far cry from the elegant gentleman he once was when reunited with his family. He was overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down his cheeks, a truly moving sight. Yet, not a single member of the Lu family, who had been avoiding him, recognized him. Even after the guards left, they found the scoundrel's stench unbearable and feared he would taint their shelter. Without a second thought, they dragged him through the night, hauling him out of the dilapidated temple. In the desolate mountains, a blizzard raged, and hungry wolves roamed freely. Yet Lu Jingshan could neither speak nor move, lying there quietly as his own family pushed him onto the path to the underworld, to die at his most lucid moment, at the hands of those he loved and trusted most. That was the final revenge I gave him. The backyard was empty, and my mother urged me to find another live-in son-in-law. I scoffed. What's the point of finding a live-in son-in-law? To scheme and take advantage of me as a childless widow, but it's just a man. With a wave of my silver notes, the mail house would send me 3 or 5 obedient and sensible ones. Each one was young and strong, their eyes filled with such deep affection that it could move one to tears. The good thing about young men is their strength, and they truly don't hold back when it comes to using it on me. Who among them doesn't exhaust every trick in the book to win my favor? Who among them doesn't win my heart more than those gold-digging sons-in-law? After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.